I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
The Who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
I am Nicole Khalil, and you're listening to the This Is Woman's Work podcast, where together we're redefining what it means, what it looks and feels like to be doing woman's work in the world today, which, like most important things, sounds easier than it is. Because let's be honest, we all have things that get in the way of living and leading authentically. Internal and external things, personal and global, things we know that are holding us back and things we're completely unaware of. So today we're diving into one of those sneaky, underestimated obstacles, something that's quietly hijacking our ability to choose, to show up at our best, and to create more joy in our lives. And that thing is clutter. It might look like 647 unread emails, a stack of half-finished projects, a junk drawer doubling as a time capsule, or a million swirling thoughts taking up all of your brain space. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Most of us are drowning in too much stuff, too much noise, too much everything. And here's the kicker. We've somehow still been conditioned to want more. So today we're not just talking about cleaning up, we're talking about clearing out. Because clutter isn't just a home problem. It's a head, heart, and energy problem. And if your space feels chaotic, odds are your life does too, and vice versa. So how do we fix it? Most of us can't or won't Marie Kondo ourselves into oblivion or aspire to be TikTok's next minimalist influencer. So instead, we need to take a realistic, ruthlessly effective approach to making space for what really matters. Whether that's your family, your career, or just 10 glorious minutes to breathe without feeling like you're failing at everything. And that's why I'm thrilled to introduce our guest today, Shira Gill. Shira is a globally recognized home organizing expert with a refreshing less is more philosophy. She's helped thousands of people around the world solve the problem of too muchness and reclaim their lives. And her latest book, Lifestyle, Your Guide to a More Organized and Intentional Life, dives into how the state of your home reflects the state of your mind, offering actionable steps to transform both. Shira's work has been featured everywhere from Vogue to HGTV, and her expertise has landed her spots on Good Morning America and in the New York Times. She's here to share why editing your life is an act of self-care and how lowering the bar can actually raise your happiness. So, Shira, thank you for being our guest. And I want to start with a pretty big question, and that is, how can we possibly even begin to solve the challenge of too muchness?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me and for that tremendous introduction. You said it all so well. In terms of the too muchness, it's going to sound so overly simple, but we have to do less. We have to expect less of ourselves. We have to consume less. And the place where we start is really by just asking ourselves some simple clarifying questions. So I like to start with, what's being neglected that you care about deeply? That is a question that I ask all of my clients, whether I'm helping them to organize their home or their calendar or their mind. So what is being neglected that you care about deeply? And what do you want more of? And what do you want less of in your life? So I always start with those kind of clarifying questions before I do any hands-on work. And the reason is because most of us are so overwhelmed, overextended, overscheduled, oversaturated, all of the things that we just have things coming at us and we're in reactive mode all the time. And so we've got to disrupt that pattern. And, I am a busy working mother of 2 teenagers. I have a dog. I have a husband. I'm an author. I run a business. So I am in the muck with all of you. And what I have found is the place to start is by hitting the pause reset button and asking those kind of tactical questions so we can start from a place of clarity and know that the things that we're going to be adding or subtracting from our lives have more purpose and intentionality.
So, as is often true, simple is the most powerful. And I love those questions. What a great place to start. Out of curiosity, when you ask the what's being neglected question, what are some typical or common answers?
Yeah, there's so much overlap here. So I would say, it's funny. I just did a poll on my Instagram saying, like, if you had an extra day in the week, what would you do? And I would say 90% of people said either reading or exercise. I thought that was kind of fascinating, like just the desire to read a book, something as simple as that. Most of us just feel like we don't even have time to curl up with a good book for 15 minutes. So health and leisure, I would say, are the biggest things. I also, because, I've spent 15 years of my career helping people edit and organize their homes. I have a lot of people say, I just wish I could relax in my own home. That's a big one. I wish I could enjoy my physical space instead of just feeling like I'm moving piles around, until I die.
Right. That's how
Um,
it feels. Yep.
yeah, that's how it feels for people. It feels, relentless and never ending. And like they're drowning in the clutter of both their stuff and their life and their schedule. So I think the thing that people crave really is time, which is our only resource that's not renewable, right? You can't buy more time. And so I think the way that I've kind of hacked this problem of feeling like there's never enough is by saying no often, religiously, and ruthlessly. And that's really the work that I've realized I do more than organizing. It's coaching people on how to say no.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the least. And again, simple, powerful, and easier said than done. It also doesn't surprise me in that health and leisure category that there was a little bit of a lean of, yes, we want to do these things, but for and with ourselves.
Yes.
As women, I think there is an element of, I'm going to put it under the huge umbrella of self-care. And I'm not always the biggest fan of that term, but doing something for and with ourselves is, I think, a very common answer when you ask what would you do with more time? And also just give some insight into we're not prioritizing it.
Correct. Yeah, I would say absolutely. That's such a good observation. Because I think, I also primarily work with women and working women and mothers who are juggling it all. And I think the thing that gets lost in the shuffle first is that permission to do the things you want to do for yourself. I think
Sure.
women, always feel like they're selfish or the kids come first or the job comes first. And then, you get the crumbs. And so a big part of what I love helping people do is to recalibrate so they can reprioritize. And that answer is different for everyone. The like, what do I most want? For me, I am really a miserable person if I don't spend time by myself every day. And so it's become a non-negotiable in my life that I start every single day with a solo walk. I have to walk the dog, so it serves double duty, but I don't talk to anyone. I don't make calls. I don't get on my Instagram or my email. It's like 45 minutes of moving my body and just allowing my brain to think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm an extreme introvert, so alone time is necessary. Like an appropriate amount of sleep and some alone time to recharge the batteries are necessary for me to even be an approachable human. Like anybody would like me. So I can relate completely. So I'm going to ask the next question in 2 ways. So same question in 2 different ways, which is in preparation, I saw a quote of yours that says, edit your life ruthlessly, but not recklessly. I want to ask for some tips of how we can edit our homes ruthlessly, but not recklessly. And then the second part is how to do that in our lives.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So the ruthless, not reckless refers to, when I help people edit and organize their home, I'm looking to let go of like 30 to 50% of volume. That is what I have found makes a huge impact for people in creating that sense of spaciousness and freedom. So what I like to start with before you even like get out a donation bag is that question of, what do I want more of in my life? What do I want to create? And from that answer, whether it's like, I just want to be able to curl up and read a book, or I want to create a home office that feels like I'm a professional, or I want a bedroom that feels like a sanctuary, you define the thing that you want more than anything, because then the stuff really just becomes information. Is this getting me closer to that vision, or is it creating clutter and distraction and standing in my way? So when I say ruthless, once you have that answer, you're kind of scanning your room and you're doing an edit based on, does this item in my hand get me closer to that thing that I'm saying I want more than anything? Or is it just creating clutter and distraction? And from there, what I find is when people have a very compelling yes of, here's the thing I want, then it becomes much easier to let go of the things that stand in the way. And if you don't have that compelling why, it can be very easy for people to justify keeping anything. And that moves into the kind of part two of your question, which is, how do you do this ruthless editing with your life? So you've got to decide what is the most important thing, right? So I learned recently that the word priority is often misunderstood because we use it in the vernacular all the time as priorities, plural. What are your priorities? But in fact, you can really only have one priority because the definition is like the singular thing that is the most important. So in any given year, I kind of urge people to think about, and I cheat a little bit and say, you can have a personal priority and a professional priority. But I think if you're able to define clearly, this is my one big thing for the year. So, an easy example would be like, this was a year that I wrote a book. And so it's not that I then neglect all of my clients or my appointments, but my one big priority is I've got to write the book. I've got to adhere to those deadlines. So then if I'm asked to speak or to go to a meeting, I say to myself, does this get me closer or further away from writing and publishing a successful book? And I'm often turning down spectacular opportunities because they don't align with that one big thing that I'm committing to for the year. If I say yes to all of those things, everything's watered down and I'm not going to do a good job at anything.
Phenomenal advice. Again, I'm just going to keep saying it, easier said than done, because
yes,
it is hard when, even when you were talking about the home edit, it's like, it's so easy to get caught in the trap of online shopping, or you see something that somebody else has and you like it. It's going back to that question of what is the priority, or what is it that is being neglected that we want more, the experience we're looking for, basically, that serves as sort of the lighthouse or the guiding principle that we base this all off of. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes. Yeah. So you've got to have a North Star, right? Because if you don't have that North Star, it's so easy to say yes to everything. And I'm guilty of it all the time. I mean, of course, I fall privy to the Instagram ad that says that I need these cute pajamas. And the next thing I know, I'm buying pajamas that I don't need. That's why I've got to have in my brain, what is the thing I'm trying to create this year? And so if the thing is, I want to write and publish a great book and I want to show up for my kids, do I need those pajamas to do either of those things? Likely no. It really helps to have something to come back to. The other thing is, in terms of consumerism, what I found working with, thousands of people over the years is there is a real common thread of feeding an unmet need through consumerism. And if you can identify what that deeper need is it a lack of confidence? Is it a lack of connection? Is it feeling lonely or depressed or anxious or lost? If you can really get to the root cause of why I'm buying or why I'm saying yes to things I don't want to do, to use a life example, you can then start to get down to real solutions that will be sustainable. Whereas the buying, the adding, the constantly saying yes, 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 more, more, more typically comes from some sense of scarcity, some sense of an unmet, deeper need. I know I'm always shopping if I feel bored or lonely.
Yeah.
So if I can press pause and go, hey, what are you feeling in this moment? And what's like the real thing that's going to make you feel better? You can avoid a lot of the shopping mishaps and even scheduling mishaps.
You know how we're supposed to drink a bazillion ounces of water every day? Cute idea, but between work, life, and trying to remember what day it is, hydration doesn't always make the cut, which is why I love Cure. Cure hydration packs make it simple. Plant-based electrolytes, no added sugar, just 25 calories, and it hydrates better than water alone. And you know I love me some efficiency. My favorite flavor is lemonade. It's light, clean, and doesn't taste like somebody dumped a candy store into your water bottle. I use it on long recording days when I'm traveling or any day I hit noon and realize that I'm running purely on caffeine. And when I need more than hydration, like pre-workout where I need all the help I can get, I grab Cure Energy. It's got natural caffeine and electrolytes that get me moving and help me survive the part where I question all my life choices mid-workout. Staying hydrated isn't just about drinking water. You need electrolytes too. That's why I love Cure. It's clean, it tastes great, and it actually works. And for This Is Women's Work listeners, you can get 20% off your first order at curehydration.com/woman's work with code woman's work. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know that you heard about Cure right here. It really helps support the show. Don't just drink more water. Upgrade it with Cure.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit purina.com/purple to learn more.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season. And winter break means it's time for new outfits that are both festive and comfy. The last thing they need? New cozy coats for every occasion. Celebrate the season with Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
That could not be more true in my own life. I find sometimes I'm just looking for that dopamine hit. I'm just looking for the feeling of like checking something off the to-do list, or I don't know. And I have to catch myself and ask, is there a better way for me to get this right now? And 9.9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. There are 1 million better ways, but it's just gotten so easy. It's like at our fingertips, right? If I'm feeling lonely, it feels easier to go on social media than it does to reach out to somebody or to plan something or pick up the phone to call someone or whatever it is. But I think just having that moment of pause to ask yourself, what is it that's missing, or what is it that I'm craving or looking for? And is there some better way? Because I feel like that's why we end up with so much crap in our houses.
Yes, it's the lack of pause, and it's also the difficulty, especially for women, to say no. And I have a whole chapter in my book that talks about boundaries and even scripts for saying no, which have been helpful to me as a kind of reformed people pleaser. It's really helpful to have a way that you're comfortable to graciously say no, whether that's to the neighbor who wants to give you hand-me-downs for your kids, but your kids don't really need more clothes, but you don't want to be rude, or the person who's asking you to, volunteer your time for something or have the quick coffee to pick your brain. I have found it to be a game changer to find kind of a script that works for you to say the gracious no. Mm-hmm. And I think so many of us want to say no, but we just can't figure out how to do it without feeling rude.
Yeah. I call those back pocket either statements or questions. It's like I think of them mentally as if they're shoved in my back pocket and I can just pull it out when I need them.
Love it.
Shira, can you give us a couple examples of maybe some of your back pocket statements for saying no when things pop up?
Yeah. So my new favorite, because I feel like there's not really a rebuttal, is I just say, that is such a lovely offer. I wish I could help you, but I'm fully at capacity right now, so I'm going to have to pass. And I've just found it to be a really simple way of saying the gracious no, like a compliment. This sounds great. I'd love to do it. I am at capacity, full stop, the end. And I've just found it's something that people really respect. And I've even had other women say like, wow, I'm going to have to start using that in my own life. I used to constantly scramble to figure out a way to do part of the thing. And now I've just found it's much easier to say a blanket no, but using that, I'm at capacity. In terms of physical stuff, because I think people so generously want to gift or give you the thing or pass along, oh, this would be perfect for you or your kids or your family. I just tell people, which I do have the excuse of we live in a remarkably small home in the Bay Area. So I just say, oh gosh, we have zero storage. We're working with a craftsman that was built 100 years ago. So obviously that won't apply to most people, but I have had clients who just say, I'm on a decluttering mission this year. So I'm saying no to everything. Like your stuff is amazing. Someone else is going to be thrilled. But just like saying the value that you're practicing, whether it's I'm trying to create space, I'm already so cluttered, I just can't bring another thing into my home, is a good one.
So love all of that. And I want to kind of double down on the reducing of clutter in our lives. I know you talk about automating and reducing daily decision-making as part of eliminating clutter. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have kind of a process for decision making. I like to define clear criteria of what I'm going to say yes or no to. That can apply to anything from, buying a new couch to saying yes to a speaking engagement. I basically define the criteria in advance, and I encourage everyone to do this. So you define your criteria. What is it that I'm going to allow into my home and life this year? The second part of that is constraining your options. So with the example of the couch, I will only look at 3 stores if I'm buying a new couch. That's it. I pick the best couch from one of those 3 and I move on with my life. The same thing could be if you're considering a new job, right? I'm going to define my clear criteria. What am I looking for in a job? And then I'm only going to consider 3 top options if I'm offered many. And then I finalize that by setting a decision-making time frame. So I find that decisions are very, very hard for most people. We are kind of given help as children to make decisions. We're given options. Do you want this or that? Do you want to pick this one or that one? But we don't, as adults, often do that for ourselves. And so using those guidelines, defining clear criteria, constraining your options, and setting a decision-making time frame, it's a very simple process that you can use and apply to anything in your life, whether it's, somebody asking for a favor, the new couch example, the can you drive carpool on Tuesdays? It's like you have to make those decisions ahead of time with your prefrontal cortex. And so that when things start coming at you, you already have those boundaries and those guidelines set that feel good to you.
I love that. Also, I think in the moment, if I haven't thought about things ahead of time, I am most likely to default to yes.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so having sort of those boundaries or barriers pre-established can be super helpful.
Yes. And I found it, here's like a silly example, but I have just started saying blanket statement. I don't do Instagram lives. I get asked to do Instagram lives constantly. It's a thing that does not bring me joy. And I have found it much easier to just say to people like, oh, that's something I don't do, but I'd love to go on your podcast. And nobody questions it because it's a rule that I've made. But before I had made that rule, I was always like hemming and hawing and I don't want to be rude and this and that. So I think the more you can make finite rules in your life of like, even as simple as like, I don't buy, things that aren't local, or right now I'm on a huge sustainability kick. So I've decided I'm not bringing anything into my home that's plastic. That makes it really easy when I'm at the store shopping, because half, if not, 75% of the store has things that are made of plastic. And my brain now can just simplify what I'm buying and what I'm not buying.
Yeah, it's a great example. Okay. I cannot let you go without talking about this concept of lowering the bar. You started early on by saying do less, consume less, expect less of ourselves. And I think that flies in the face of most of our subconscious experiences up to this point, right? Like we're
Yeah.
mostly being told do more, have more, be more, look good while doing it, make it all look effortless, say yes to everything. It's like exhausting.
Yeah.
So what is the upside of lowering the bar and how do we do that?
Yeah. Okay. So lowering the bar on purpose, as opposed to dropping the ball by accident, feels incredibly liberating and empowering. So I am an overachiever. I believe in setting and achieving goals, showing up for the people I love, living to my fullest potential. I have very high standards for myself, but I also have found that lowering the bar on certain activities is the most compassionate and productive form of self-care. And it's a way to free up energy for more important pursuits. So some of the things that I've decided on purpose to lower the bar on are cooking. So I will work really hard. I will be a good mom, but I rarely cook food for my family. That is really even hard for me to say out loud because I have so many voices in my head that are judgmental. But I've just decided that's a thing I'm cool lowering the bar on, because I can get takeout. My husband loves cooking. It's okay. It's a thing that I'm just going to say, not for me in this season of my life, and it's fine. Likewise, I have decided I'm not good at keeping plants alive. So we do not have any plants in our home because I just killed them all and it makes me feel bad about myself. So now I just buy fresh flowers once a week and it makes me happy. So one other thing is I'm terrible with technology. So if something breaks, if I can't figure out something with my computer, gone are the days of me spending hours trying to figure it out. It's not my zone of genius. I don't care to become better at it. This is something I will happily delegate to someone on my team or ask for help with. So I think the real invitation here is to identify things in your life that you're not good at, you don't enjoy doing, and you don't care to invest time or energy in, so that you can free up more time for the things you actually do enjoy and do care about.
So is there an element of discomfort in this lowering the bar that's necessary to know we're doing it right? And the reason I ask is because when you ask of what's in our zone of genius, there are some things that are just obvious. And I don't think any of us feel any discomfort with the idea of, or very little discomfort with the idea of lowering the bar or letting go of it. But we all have things like your example of not cooking.
Yeah.
Where God, we have head trash about it, or we make shit up about it, or we think that somehow makes us less than. I just am wondering with this concept of lowering the bar, if, once we've tackled the easy and obvious things, if there's just going to be an element of discomfort that sort of lets us know we're on the right track.
Absolutely. Yeah. Discomfort is the key to growth, right? It's the key to evolution. It's not, if it's easy, we're doing it wrong. So I think, with my example of deciding, you know what, I don't love cooking. It's not something I'm particularly good at. My kids are very happy if I order Chinese takeout. I had to go through the shame and the mom guilt and the voices in my head to come out the other side with a lot of humor and to just say to my family, guys, I'm going to make money. I'm going to support the family. I'm going to write books. I'm going to have a clean, tidy house. I can't cook dinner. It's just not going to happen. And they were like, okay, cool. But I think, yeah, you do have to sit with those voices and see if you can release them. I think for me, the technology thing was another, like, I'm a smart woman, I'm educated, I should be able to fix a computer or like troubleshoot on my phone instead of just panic. And I said, you know what? It's not a thing I'm that interested in learning. That one was a little bit of an easier release. But I think, yes, you have to go through feeling maybe a moment of shame or guilt or like, rehashing the stories in your brain to get to the point of saying, I'm cool giving this up. And the other piece of it is, again, you've got to have the bigger, compelling North Star that feels important enough to say no to all the other things. So for me, that was, I want to write the best book that I can write. I can't do that and figure out how to make a beautiful, balanced meal at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's beyond my capacity. Other people can probably do that beautifully, not for me. And so there is a piece of self-acceptance in that.
Totally. And while you were talking, it popped into my head too, the opportunity for us as women to let go of the assumption that it is always supposed to be us. In your example, you have 3 other people in your household who are at least as capable, right?
Yeah.
As you
Oh,
are
yeah.
of cooking. So I think a lot of our guilt stems from this idea that it's supposed to be us. And I put that in air quotes.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are people who are listening who letting go of cooking is not the thing. Maybe they find
Right.
joy in it, but there's something else that we're all doing because we think we're supposed to, or because we have shame or guilt about it, that is not in our zone of genius. It's creating clutter in our lives, in our minds, and in our hearts. And it's
Yes.
preventing us from focusing on what really matters to us.
Yes. And I think stepping into also like the seasons of life, right? Like there was
Right.
a season of my life where I had a baby and a toddler and I was starting a business, and the house was not as clean as it is now in current day, where I have 2 teenagers who help and do the dishes and all of the things. So I think it's also giving ourselves the grace of, sometimes there are messier periods in life where you can say, you know what? I'm just going to let this go for now. I know it's going to come back later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One last question based on a little bit of planning in advance. I saw something that said curbing your complaining habit helps with decluttering. Where does complaining and clutter interact or not? Like, where does complaining play a part in helping us declutter our lives?
Yes. So yeah, I just wrote this article, which is what you might be referencing for Katie Couric Media, on how to catch and curb your complaining habit. And the link to clutter, mental and physical clutter, is that when we complain, it actually rewires our brains for negativity. And I am a person who didn't think that I complained. And I tried to go a day without complaining and barely made it an hour. And I was like, this seems problematic. And the issue is that when you're complaining, it is cluttering your brain up with negativity. Just like in your home, if you have piles and piles of papers and bills and things that are unattended to, it makes your brain feel like there's constantly unfinished business. And it sends this kind of subconscious belief that you are behind. And so with regard to complaining, the biggest thing is just awareness. So it's just having a little, notes app in your phone where every time you complain about something, you jot it down. And just by doing that, you can increase awareness, as I did. Like, oh, wow, I am complaining a lot, even though I feel like I'm a pretty happy, optimistic person. I'm pointing out things constantly that I wish were different, like the weather, or, our floors got scratched up by the dog. But if I just took that thought and channeled it into something more productive or more optimistic, I will actually feel better. My mental health will improve. So it's not about getting Pollyannish or like having these affirmations that we don't believe. It's really just about identifying our habits and seeing how they play into the rest of our lives and making those small adjustments that are going to make us feel better on the everyday.
Shira, I tried a no complaining challenge for 5 days and honestly didn't think it would be that hard. I don't consider myself that much of a complainer. And I was appalled. I was horrified.
It's horrifying.
Oh my God. So great challenge. And I again like the lean of being somewhat neutral about it, more just paying attention and redirecting thoughts versus then creating something else to have judgment about. And now you're complaining about your complaining or, I also really like the connection to clutter. I'd never thought about it in that context before, but that is what it feels like. It's creating unwanted clutter in our minds and in our energy.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes just by like my big hack for people who feel like they're drowning in paper clutter is literally just take all of it and centralize it into one place so that you can walk through 99% of your home and not feel like you're drowning in paper clutter.
Yeah.
Just simple, But yeah, with regard to the complaining, it really is pretty wild if you start to pay attention. And the one thing where it can be helpful is if you find yourself complaining about something thematically, it can actually be something where you go, oh, you know what? This is something I want to pay attention to, or I want to make a concrete and actionable shift. So it's just about increasing the awareness without the judgment.
I love it. Now, I know people are going to want to learn more from you, Shira, about how to declutter both their homes and their lives. So, friends, you can follow Shira on Instagram at Shira Gill. You can also join her Substack, which is called The Life Edit. And of course, get your hands on her book, Lifestyled. It's available on Amazon or wherever you buy books. Shira, thank you for your time, your wisdom, and for helping us declutter literally everything.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
My pleasure. Okay, friend, let's be clear. This episode wasn't about creating a Pinterest perfect home or a life that looks good to and for others. It's about making space for clarity, for energy, and for the things and people that truly matter to you. It's about letting go of what weighs us down physically and emotionally so we can move through life with more intention, freedom, and joy. Shira reminded us today that editing our lives isn't about being ruthless for the sake of it. It's about self-respect. When we say no to the things that don't serve us, we're giving a loud, unapologetic yes and creating space for what does. And that's the kind of energy we all deserve to carry. So as you finish this episode, I challenge you to take a look, not just at your space, but at your schedule, your commitments, and even your thoughts, and ask yourself, what's really worth keeping? Because clearing out everything that gets in the way of you living your fullest, truest life, well, that's the only cleaning that you'll ever hear me call woman's work.